and welcome to a brand new video on my channel. My name is Emma and I run Sunshine Lane, which is a small business creating greetings cards, stationery and gifts which are all about spreading positivity and encouraging self-care. And I have been documenting my journey growing my small business. It has been 5 years since I started my YouTube channel, and this is actually my 300th video that I've uploaded to YouTube, which is insane. So I wanted to do something to mark the occasion, and I decided to do a Q&A video with you. It's been over a year since I last did one with you, and I wanted to sit down because a lot's changed and answer your questions you have about the business, about life, my journey, everything you see in these videos. If you usually watch my videos, I am in a new little corner of the studio. I am in the middle of doing a massive studio reorganize, decorate transformation, and we're doing it little bit by little bit because I can't really just down tools and not get any other work done, so we keep doing it bit by bit. And I've actually moved my desk, and I really want to create a nice space behind me for filming these videos. But right now you've just got this little corner. It's night time, I've got my heater on, I'm all cozy in my maple sweatshirt, and I'm just ready to answer your questions. And I guess to give a little bit of context about my YouTube channel, when I started this channel, I actually called it Plan, Inspire, Create, and I started my YouTube channel before I actually started my small business, which usually I think it's the other way around for people. I had recently left my job as a social worker. I was having health problems, I have chronic health conditions, I struggle with fibromyalgia, pain, fatigue, lots of other weird and wonderful things that come with that, and that had been really on a decline, and I'd been really struggling and hit a massive period of burnout and the mental health difficulties that come with that. And alongside that, I had recently also found out at the age of 30 that I was autistic, and I hadn't known that, and so that was obviously a big eye-opening moment. And I majorly needed some time to get my head around these new conditions that I'd learned that I had, what it meant to be autistic. I knew I didn't want to go back to social work, so what on earth was I going to do with my life moving forward? And we were also going through a whole bunch of fertility exploration and IVF fertility treatments and stuff. So there was a lot going on, and I started a YouTube channel called Plan, Inspire, Create as a way to document my journey of trying to use planning and creativity to bring myself back to life, to spread a bit of positivity, and hoping that people relate to the journey I was on of trying to find new meaning in my life. And that's essentially how it was all born 5 years ago, which is mad to think about. One of the things that I did was start doing digital drawing. I'd never done it before. I didn't draw in any way, shape or form before. I started doing little illustrations with positive messages just to boost my own self. But once I started sharing those, I saw how much people resonated with them, and I wanted to bring them to a wider audience. And I thought this is what my job could be moving forward, maybe. And I started bringing those illustrations to products, starting with stickers that I created in-house, and it's grown from there. I rebranded a couple of years ago now to Sunshine Lane because I felt like that fit better with where the business had grown to back from the Plan, Inspire, Create days. And it's been an incredible journey from dragging myself off the sofa, not managing to do much more than stare at the wall all day because I was so burnt out. And this was my goal, was to post once a week on YouTube to give me something to focus on and have a little goal, to running my own business, employing my mum 2 days a week to work with me. It's been fantastic. So I wanted to have another big check-in with you, answer some of the questions of the things you would like to know, and just put a little marker in the sand of my 5 years and my video number 300. And if you wonder why there aren't 300 videos live on the channel, it is because a lot of my original planning content I privated because it was confusing the YouTube algorithm who I was aiming my videos at when I had all this planning content and then suddenly had small business vlogs, and YouTube didn't really know what to do, and so I privated those, but I now include more planning and journaling content within my small business content, and I want to do that a bit more next year is my plan. So there have been 300 videos, I promise. Now, my first question that you sent in, the first one I received was, how is baby Sunshine after a year of being home? Now, if you haven't followed this journey, like I said, when I started my channel, we were going through fertility difficulties, and the last time I sat down and did a Q&A video, I believe I was preparing to take some time off because we were adopting a little girl, and she has been home over a year now, which I do not know where that time has gone. And it has meant that there have been huge changes to how I now run my business and manage my time compared to how I did it before. And so all the more reason for one of these videos. She's fantastic to give an update. She is hilarious. She's so funny. She has a real mischief and mayhem streak, and she's a little bit sassy already. She's only 2, so I am afraid. She knows what she wants and she's not afraid to give instructions, and she's very independent, but she also has a real gentle side. And it's been a hard year, but it's been such a rewarding year, and I feel like our bond has really grown, and I'm so grateful for that. Like, I can't even really put that into words. And I occasionally show little snippets of her on here without really sharing too much of her identity. But equally, she's a big part of me trying to juggle my work-life balance and be a mum and family time and all those things. So I try and focus more on my journey as a business owner who's also a mum. But she's great. She's just flourishing, and it's lovely to see. And she's just so loved by everybody, and the fact that people care and the fact that people have followed that journey throughout, and I've talked about that side of things and trying to manage that big emotional thing alongside running a business, as well as all the practicalities of it. It's lovely that people check in, that they want to know how it's going, and the lovely messages I receive. I recently showed the smallest snippet of putting her in a wheelbarrow, and you didn't even really see her in one of my vlogs. And I got some lovely comments about how it was lovely to just see or hear a snippet and see my life as a mum, when it's people that have followed me for a long time and they've seen that journey of me kind of wanting and waiting. So yeah, in summary, she is a whirlwind, but I wouldn't have it any other way. She keeps me on my toes. But like I said, it has obviously meant that the day-to-day of how I run my business has had to change, and I've had to be a lot more disciplined with my time. And something that I've always loved about working for myself is I was so scared after that period of burnout that I didn't know how I could go back to traditional employment and manage it, because my body and my mind does not always work as I want it to in the 9 to 5 hours. And that's fine if I can then swap things around and do things at other time of day as it suits better. But when someone is expecting you to be somewhere and you have to be there then, no matter what, like, that's just not feasible for a lot of people with chronic illnesses. I know there's some people who manage it, but for me, I managed it on a decline, and then I eventually hit the point where I just couldn't. My body was like, no more of this, you're not stopping, so I'm going to stop you. So working for myself was a lot easier to manage that. I have to say it was a lot easier to do that pre-child because now I do have someone I have to be there for at set times of day, whether my body and my mind are playing ball or not. And I will say we have a lot of support around us that I'm very, very, very grateful for. But I do have to be there at certain hours, and that therefore limits the hours I can work in. So there has been a little bit more pushing through, and unfortunately earlier in the year I did that too much and I did hit burnout, and I was quite upset about it. I did a video about it because I promised myself I wasn't going to reach that point again. But this whole journey of becoming a mum has been so exhausting. We were exhausted from the process before they gave us a child, and then all of a sudden we had to just start running with a toddler. And yeah, it's been a journey for sure. So with that said, I do have some more questions about work-life balance that kind of include mum stuff, which I will come back to later in the video, because those of you who aren't a mum don't want me prattling on for all this time about being a mum. Even though it's important to me, I know you want to know other stuff too. So I'm going to move on to my next question for now, which is about my studio. And this question was submitted: I'd love to know about your studio. Did you build it yourself? Was it expensive? How big is it? Great questions. And I have to say it's a slight cheat answer because we didn't build it. So we were looking for a new house, again, pre-child, and we were looking for something with more space. And it was, I want to say, 2022-ish, probably. And so we're kind of coming out of COVID times, and there were a lot more houses on the market where people had some sort of unit building big shed extravaganza in the garden that they had used to work from home during COVID, and they'd had it built because things very much changed in terms of working patterns and people were working from home a lot more and have carried on doing so. And so something like that was on my list of almost my non-negotiables, I'd say, having some sort of space where I could go and work from, because my husband also works from home and he's very loud when he's in meetings. So it gives us that bit of separation, and it means that I can come away, come out of the house. And especially having my little girl who has her fingers in everything when she's in here, I can keep her at a safe distance when I need to. So it was one of the things that I was really hoping we would find. However, I didn't think we'd find one this big. When we saw this house, I instantly fell in love with this outdoor space, and I was sold. And luckily my husband liked the house, so it was fine and we went for it. When we got it, half of it was used as a gym and half of it was a bar, which is a really weird combo. And there was a big bar down one wall, and then it had all gym equipment on the other side. So we looked at it and we were like, yeah, great, brilliant, loads of space, it's massive. Like, we never would have built anything this big, we never would have afforded it. But I think it had been used by somebody who had to keep up their fitness and all the gyms were closed, and this is where they'd put their money, but then had to sell up quickly. And so it was probably a bad investment for them, but good for us, if that makes sense. However, what we didn't anticipate, and what I did document in some of my vlogs as we moved here, was that when we looked round, all the gym equipment was on top of foam tiles, and the foam tiles were still down, and we were like, oh, they haven't removed those, let's remove those. We lift them up and the floor is rotten underneath. Now, this had only been built less than 2 years prior, so we were like, how on earth has this happened, and what do we now do? Because I got all my stuff boxed up thinking that I would maybe have 1 or 2 weeks of working in the house and then come straight out here. And so I had a series of moving from room to room in the house. As we decorated rooms, I got bumped to another room while we were trying to sort this out. And it turns out that the builders, who have since closed, who built this, had not put down any foundations or damp proofing. They had just plonked it on the ground. So I don't know if the previous owners knew that, but essentially what we then had was a series of very tough decisions of what to do, and it was one of the main draws for me, especially, to this house. And we ended up with a few £1,000 bill to essentially have the whole thing lifted up on like jacks while they did foundations, damp proofing, concrete floor, and then drop it again. So yeah, That was a big cost that we were obviously not anticipating. And they did say we might try and lift it and it might just go and you might have to look at getting something else, at which point we would have got something a lot smaller. But what it's meant is I can do everything in here and I have that disconnect from the house where I can get in work mode out here, and I really love that. It helps me focus and it helps protect that time from interruptions. The downsides of it are it's big. You asked how big it was. I can't think off the top of my head, so when I edit this, I'm going to edit it and put it here and you're going to be like, what the heck, that's massive. It's huge. And the downside is it's hard to heat. It's not insulated. It's freezing in winter and it is boiling like a greenhouse in summer. So it's lovely in here in the spring and autumn, but the summer and winter can be a bit of a struggle, particularly with my fibro. I don't do well in the cold. So as winter vlogs start, you'll see me getting more like the Michelin Man with more and more layers on. I absolutely love it and I can't wait to do my transformation because the bits we've moved around are already helping the studio work a lot better, but unfortunately it's all the mess and disaster in this corner I'm not going to show you that is left to be sorted out. And I think it's just taken us a bit of time to figure out how best to maximise the space and make best use of it. So I think we're really getting there with it now, especially adapting from just me working in here to me and Mum working in here. But I'll cover this more in the transformation video. Probably all of these things will end up with their own videos because there's so much to talk about. But I dread to even think what something the size of this would cost if we'd have built it. Well, we wouldn't have built it. However, there are a lot of alternatives of a more decent size that I know are available now, and I've seen a lot of people having their own little space, even if it's just the space where they go and get their head down and do their laptop work or whatever it is. I've seen Fizz and Flourish, I think she's moved now, but at one point she had a little pod in the garden. I know my business coach Leona, who runs Joyful Selling, she has her little coaching pod in the garden and it puts her in that coaching mindset when she's in there. And I know if anyone follows My Green Cow, who does a lot of journaling content, I'll link all these, they have been building almost like a studio, in terms of like a studio apartment / art studio on their family's grounds. So they've been really cool videos to watch. I've got a friend who's transformed a garage. So there's loads of things you can do. I'll link a few of those examples in the description that are a bit more like a normal size. But I am incredibly grateful to have this space and it makes me so happy working in here, and I just want to add more colour and fun and stuff so that I find it a really inspiring place to be in and work in, because right now there's a lot of white. It's very clinical, which is lovely for like bright filming, but I want to add some colour and fun now because that's what we're all about. So make sure you keep your eye out for my studio transformation video, and I'll also link the other ones I've done below because they show a lot of how we set up the space, how I organise the different zones in here so that you can get in different mindsets in different areas, how I organise my inventory, all my supplies, my equipment, all that stuff. So if that is useful to you, I will leave it down below. I have worked in many different spaces. At one point I was living with my mum temporarily and I was living and working out of a bedroom, so like this is such a stark difference, but I will say I've made it work in all those settings. This is a massive luxury and I know that you can make it work wherever. And I know one of the things that I was looking at was possibly renting a studio space. Sometimes you see people with a big space on YouTube, and I used to feel like I wasn't a proper business if I didn't have that space. And then ultimately I had to say to myself, that's not the case. You were still a business when you were doing it in your bedroom. Don't commit to an expense that you don't need because it just puts more pressure on the business. So yeah, with that said, look out for those other videos and I'm going to go on to the next question. So the next one is a bit of a two-parter. So I would love to know about your income streams, and also I struggle on a day when I've had no sales and I don't know what to do with my time. How do you divide up your day and week? Now, this is really interesting. I think I'm going to do a full video on my income streams. My main income stream is the shop, but I think it's really important to have other income streams so that at those times of year where sales are slower, you have got other things coming in. So for me, I obviously have my YouTube channel. The money I make off YouTube adverts is very minimal. It's not a lot. You'll know that I have had some sponsored content over time, and I'm planning on doing a video about that too, in terms of what I've learned about sponsorships and some things I wish I'd have known sooner. But I've been lucky that I've had some amazing sponsors that have supported my business on this channel. Obviously that took a long time of building up my YouTube channel to kind of get to that point. I'm just gonna do a quick bullet list now. I have a few classes on Skillshare that bring in a trickle of income. I have some affiliate links that are in my descriptions of my videos. That brings in a very small trickle. I obviously have the wholesale side of my business. I've been trying to get my products in more shops. I used to have a Patreon, but I closed it because I was spread way too thin and I just couldn't do it. I would love to be able to say I could do it again, but I just don't think it's realistic right now, and I just want to think about other ways to do things, so I'm not doing that right now. And so those are my main income sources, I'd say. The bulk of it is coming from sales from my shop, sales from Etsy, and then wholesale. And I intentionally worked really hard in the year before our little girl came home to try and build up that side of the business, because I knew that I wouldn't have enough time to be promoting products and things, and I was worried that what would then happen to the shop. However, having your products in stores means that other people are doing that marketing for you and it's over to them. However, there are a lot of pitfalls and things to look out for with wholesale, and again, I'd like to plan more than one video on this because I think it's an area that I have learned a lot in over the last few years of what to do and what not to do, so look out for that. But for me, when I was making the decision about what was going to have to go, when I recognised I was spread too thin, I chose to keep my YouTube and close my Patreon because I was really struggling to grow my Patreon, and YouTube was my first baby. Like, it existed before the shop did, and I love being able to share behind the scenes with you, so I decided to keep that. So my top three are the shop, whether it be Etsy or my direct store, wholesale, and then my YouTube. The second part of the question, when you have no sales and feeling a bit lost on what to do, I think I don't get in this mindset personally, but I can totally see why you would. And I think it's because I am in the mindset of those sales coming in are the result of the other work I'm doing, and so I almost prioritize the other work. Obviously, when orders come in, I make sure that I dedicate the time to getting them out, but I have always set a couple of days a week where I do the orders and I don't do them every day. Now, this might be a downside, especially with people expecting small businesses to be Amazon Prime and get you things the next day, and perhaps that might have to change, but I just dedicate a few bursts during the week to getting the orders done, and then it's back to the other stuff. Knowing that I have my other income streams, for example YouTube, there are a set amount of tasks for that I have to get done each week that I therefore need to dedicate blocks of time to. If I have a sponsored section in my video, then that needs to be approved in advance. I know I've got a deadline for that, so I can work back on what days I'm going to film. I also tend to film when my mum isn't working, just because there's background noise, no offence mum, unless it's a vlog and we're showing doing. And so for me, what I tend to do, and again, I'd love to do a video on this and maybe show one of my weeks in terms of how I do this, is I tend to theme my days, and I am always been a big fan of time blocking and doing like tasks together, and I will batch a load of tasks that are the same together instead of swapping in and out of things. So it might be that Monday morning is just for editing. Wednesday mornings, for example, tend to be about getting social media content done and getting my video up and ready to go live on the Wednesday afternoon, all the description, the thumbnail, all that business. And I'll block out some time to work on new products or on a big event if that's what I've got coming up. And I tend to dedicate chunks of time to projects. I'll have a list of projects on the go, whether they're events that I'll be doing, product launches that I'll be doing, or things to improve my business behind the scenes, and then just ongoing business admin stuff that needs to get done. And having a list of those means that I know I've always got stuff to work on. If anything, it probably goes the other way and it's a bit overwhelming, but I can pick what's the most urgent and focus on that. So I hope that helps a bit. I think theming my days is a big one, and it also means that I protect pockets of time for things that are going to move the business forward, and it stops me procrastinating and doing other things that are just like fun things but aren't going to move me on, even though I do sometimes do that, because we all do. I hope that helps, but I will do some more in-depth videos about planning, about theming my days, maybe show you how I manage a week, both in terms of that theming of the days but also working with my energy levels. Because with my chronic illness, I quite often have to swap things around depending on what I feel up to in those moments. So yeah, I would say create yourself a list of non-sales related tasks that you can flick to as a visual reminder to know I could be working on these things if I find myself on a no sales day, would be my tip. So I mentioned in that section that I have had some fantastic sponsors that have supported this channel, and one of those is OmniSend. They have been such a huge supporter of Sunshine Lane and of this YouTube channel, and I have something that you could actually work on if you had a no sales day. I feel like a newsreader now. We are going to switch to Emma in a blue outfit, who is going to tell you something very important. Do you remember a few vlogs ago I shared the results of adding OmniSend Spin to Win wheel on my homepage to get email signups? I nearly tripled my email sign-up rate to 7.3% because I had that form perfectly set up ahead of time before a big sales event. I'm here again with your Black Friday reminder. It's weeks away now, and whilst I hugely believe in community over competition, the fact is your competition is probably already planning out their Black Friday marketing campaigns. What offers are they going to have and how are they going to communicate them to people? If you are even thinking about switching email providers, you need to do it now, and I recommend you switch to OmniSend, who are sponsoring this segment of the video and who I've been having amazing results with for about the last 18 months. Black Friday, Cyber Monday and Small Business Saturday, which is sandwiched there in the middle, are really important for sales for small businesses. It's right ahead of the holiday season, and we know that there is a huge amount of sales happen during that weekend. So you can't afford to have any technical errors, any downtime in your systems. So the best thing you can do if you're thinking about setting up or migrating your email provider is to let OmniSend manage that process for you right now. They transfer all your lists, your history, your segments, all of it, so you don't have to stress. It's like having movers that come in and pack everything up for you and take it to the other end when you move house. So that you don't have to stress, OmniSend want you to move early and they want to help. Black Friday is going to be here before we know it, so by migrating now, you're going to gain the competitive edge. While other businesses are dealing with integration hiccups later in November, or it doesn't even bear thinking about during the Black Friday weekend, you'll be spending your time building high converting campaigns. You might choose to create segments, for example, for first time shoppers that have not shopped with you before, and build a targeted set of emails that goes out just to them when they sign up. You can test all your templates, you can make sure everything's working perfectly, and make use of OmniSend's 24/7 customer support. It is fantastic. I've had great experience using it myself when I migrated to OmniSend. I filmed all of that process, and shared my experience, and I'll link that down below so you can see actually the process that I went through. And just for peace of mind, I asked them to check that I'd set everything up correctly. They spotted a couple of things and they really helped me out, and it was so fast. Having their 24/7 support for any questions you have before the chaos hits is priceless. Black Friday traffic is coming, and that sounds a bit scary, but it's a good thing. So don't miss out on sales because of last-minute migration pains. Get ahead of the game, you'll be feeling very happy with yourself. You can go into the busy season feeling calm by letting Omnisend manage your move today. They have a free email plan which remains free while you're building your list up to 250 subscribers. And if you're migrating with more than that, you can get 30% off your first 3 months using the code in the description below and by visiting omnisend.com/Sunshine Lane, which I will also leave in the description for you. So don't wait any longer. Black Friday is right around the corner. So we're back to Emma in the pink in the studio, and I have a few questions that were sent in about creativity and motivation and more of the design side of the business. And the first one was, do you ever lose your crafting or designing mojo? The answer is yes. Absolutely. Especially earlier in the year when I did my burnout video, I acknowledged that I had essentially pushed and pushed and pushed to keep creating when my mind just wasn't there. It wasn't in that headspace, and I was saying to myself, well, it's tough because you've got social media posts to create, you've got products to create, you've got, there's so many creating tasks in a creative small business, funnily enough, and you can't do it. If you push yourself to do it too much, you'll just reach the point where you burn out and your brain says, no, I'm not helping you with this. I'm not going to do it. And then depending on what deadlines you've got, you'll end up in trouble. And the other downside of that is that, as with a lot of creative business owners, creating was a hobby, and I found myself so burnt out from creating for work that I never set aside time to create anything just for fun. Now, I will tell you an important shift that I have made, which has made the world of difference, and that is that me and my mum, every 2 weeks, we have a crafty Wednesday, and I go over to hers for dinner, and we spend time, just me and her, and we do something creative that's not work related, and we try out a new craft, and we do something for fun, and we do some projects that span like multiple sessions. So we might make something, and then in the next one we might paint it, depending what it is. I'm going to show you some recent creations. I recently made this little resin mushroom pot, you see inside, and it's got a little happy face, and that's been decorating my desk. I don't know what I'm going to put in it, but it's just been decorating for Halloween and autumn. And I also made these out of clay and then painted them, and they have also been decorating my desk in the autumn. And I made this really nice candle out of resin. It's got a candle inside. We also picked a scent for the wax and did the candle. That's going to go in my living room. Don't know why it's still in here. So we've been making those. At the minute I'm working on some clay magnets for my fridge, and I've painted them. They just need varnishing and the magnets sticking on the back. And this Wednesday we are going to a little paint and sip locally, or is it called brush and tipple? And it's been lovely to do that, to connect on a hobby rather than just work basis, because if we're not careful, we just talk about work together all the time and we don't have time to just hang out because we feel like we've seen each other, but that's at work. And so it's nice to also set aside that mum-daughter time, which has obviously also reduced since I became a mum. So yeah, that's done wonders, and it fills me up creatively to give me a creative burst for work as well. So I would say make sure you make time for things that you enjoy that aren't work related, especially when you run a creative business. Don't give up doing things just for fun. I know time is limited, believe me, but just having that evening once a fortnight has been amazing. It's lifted my mood. I've really, really enjoyed it. And I have been posting on my stories what we've been creating each time. So you can see over there on Instagram if you don't follow me. So that's one of my tips, I guess, is maybe give a different medium a go. If you're somebody that always draws, try something else and just have fun with it, take the pressure off it, and you might find that it gives you a creative burst to go back and do that other creative activity with just a new burst of passion and energy that you didn't have before, because that's what I've found. But equally, I would say don't pressure yourself to be creating all the time. You have to have breaks from it, and that's absolutely fine. The world isn't going to end if you don't do all the product releases you planned. I certainly haven't this year. Or you don't post on Instagram as many times as you wanted, or whatever it might be. It's fine. The world carries on. I'm trying to get in the mindset of thinking that what I do put out will be better quality because I'm not so exhausted with it. And then the second question was, do you ever struggle with motivation to do new designs, and how do you come up with different designs? Obviously, a bit of the burnout stuff covers that, and sometimes it's hard to think about being in the creative mindset. I just get a bit of a block on it when I'm burnt out. But what I tend to do is always have notes on the go. I'm always making notes of my ideas, saving images, Pinterest boards, however you want to do it, because I tend to get bursts of inspiration at odd points when I'm not even working. It's usually in the shower or walking the dog, or at a point where my mind is wandering thinking about something else, and I'll have this burst of inspiration, and I've started just making sure I make a note of those, and then I can always come back to them and build on them at a point where I am feeling more creatively motivated and more able to do it. And I can just keep working on those ideas over time until I feel like I've got the motivation and this is the right time to build it out into a full collection or launch. And at the times where I can't face that, I just focus on those other aspects of the business, because there's so many other things that running a business entails that's fine. I can focus my energy on that and those tasks that don't require the high creative energy. I've also started keeping in my notes things like if a customer mentions something in feedback, in a review, in a comment somewhere, that it would be great if you had this in this colour, or it would be great if you did this design on this product, or oh, I'd love it if you did a collection on this, a journaling workshop on this topic. I've started trying to keep those all in one place so that I can use that for sparks of inspiration. And I think just giving myself time to play with different ideas in that almost like pre-planning before I've even decided it's going to be a collection and I am going to do this and we need to crack on and put some deadlines around when this is happening. I can have an idea that I'm working on for a long time and I keep coming back to it and thinking, what could I do with that? I really like that idea. I've got an idea for a collection that I'd like to do next year that I've probably had in the back of my mind for about 4 years, and I keep toying with it and then thinking, no, it's not the right time. I want to work on something else. So I think timing is a factor, but also allowing yourself that time just to play with the idea, whether you do some sketches, whether it's just thinking about it, letting the idea evolve to a point where you're really excited about it. You think, yeah, I've cracked this. This is what I feel really passionate about creating, is going to put you in a better position to get over that hump of starting, which I find quite tricky. And so what I did recently with the teenage anxiety toolkit that I'm working on, a couple of vlogs ago, I sat and I did a mood board for it and really got my head around what I wanted it to be and look and feel like. And that then put me in that mindset of, I want to get stuck in now. And all the ideas are flowing, the creative juices are flowing. So having those things that put you in that mindset really help. Okay, the last section of questions is about content creation, managing a brand, and that work-life balance. And the first question was tips for starting a YouTube channel. Now, I would love to do a whole video on this, so I will share just a few tips because I'm worried about how long this video is going to be because I've got so much to say on each of these things. I would say my first 2 things are just start it. Don't worry about the quality. You'll never be happy with what you're putting out because there'll always be something else you'll think you can improve on. So just do it, just start it. And you might not be happy with those first videos, but it's how you learn and get started. You're getting yourself comfortable with talking to the camera, with remembering to film what you're doing, all those things that editing. There's a lot to get your head around. It's a lot of new skills if it's not something you normally do. I would say just get started and set a schedule you can be consistent with. This has really helped me grow my YouTube channel, and YouTube likes consistency, it rewards consistency, and your audience knows when to expect a new video from you and they look forward to seeing it at that time. I do my videos once a week. I've had periods of time where I've done, like this month I'm going to do 2 videos a week, but 1 video a week, even now that feels like a squeeze when I'm trying to run the best of the business as well. You don't want to spread yourself too thin. So even if it's once a month, whatever you can stick to, just give it a go. And my other tip I will add is when you're putting a video together, think about what you want the person watching to get out of it. So try and give each video a little theme, and it just helps you get it clear in your head what you want to film that week. Because I used to make the mistake of filming absolutely everything, and then the editing was a nightmare because I had so much footage to review. The vlogs were getting really long, editing was taking forever. So if you have a little theme in your head and you know you don't have to film everything, it will help it not become this big unruly beast that's quite hard to manage. But I will put together a video before the end of the year on this, because I think a lot of people set themselves a goal to launch a new channel in the new year, and it feels like a fresh start and a good time to do that. I was quite close to Christmas when I started mine. It feels like a good time, and so I will get that up before the end of the year. I've said it now, it's going to have to happen. And the other one related was, how do you stay authentic on camera while also keeping a professional brand image? And I think it's an interesting one with behind the scenes content, because you want to put your most professional foot forward, but running a small business can be really messy and scrappy, and that's one of the joys of small business. And there are a lot of benefits to that, the fact that you can adapt and do things on the fly and suddenly decide, oh, there's this topical thing, I'm going to make a product about it. You're not going to get it through all these corporate levels of approval. You can just decide you're going to sit down and draw something today and release it by Friday. I've done that before. And when you're trying to do everything yourself, it can be quite chaotic at times. Things go wrong, things don't always pan out how you expect, and you don't necessarily want to turn up on the internet and say, oh, this launch was a flop, because you start thinking, oh, well, it's not going to make my shop look very good. But at the same time, I think people value seeing a person, and especially in the world of small businesses, you want to know who you're buying from. You want to know what their story is. You want to know what they're all about, what inspires their designs. To me, I think that's part of the draw of buying from a small business. I've always, from the beginning, just tried to be an open book on this channel and show you things as they're happening without putting a filter on it, because I think the one thing everyone can relate to is being human, and that's all it is being human. And I think there are ways of doing that that still make you look professional. There are also ways you can do that that probably make you seem really unprofessional. Like if you're showing yourself going out for lunch and therefore letting a big customer down because you haven't shipped their order because you fancied a day out. Unprofessional authenticity, right? Whereas if you're just showing the messy behind the scenes, I think there's nothing wrong with that. But that's just me. And then the last question is, any tips on managing a business with little ones and also avoiding mum guilt? Now, I only have one, but I guess everybody's used to what they're used to. So for me, this feels like me being pushed way beyond, because it's the most I've ever been pushed. And I think wherever anyone is in their life, they're probably feeling the same. And that goes for whether you have kids or not. When I didn't have kids, I still felt pushed to my limits, and I was juggling all sorts of other things that weren't a child. So it might not be a child that you're having to juggle your life with, but I think these tips are probably applicable across the board. depending on whatever you're juggling, if that makes sense. But obviously for me, life has changed dramatically. I didn't take any kind of maternity type leave because where self-employed people are entitled to maternity leave, people that adopt currently aren't if they're self-employed. And there's all sorts of campaigning going on around that, but that's irrelevant for me because I've missed the boat. So my husband took it, and therefore I tried to work as little as possible in the first 6 months. But what I found I was doing was using sort of power pockets of time when she was napping or asleep. And you can get a hell of a lot done in those windows when you know that's all you've got. I will say it focuses you like nothing else. However, that was my fast track to burnout. So I will say be careful you don't use all of them and leave no time for yourself. Watch my burnout video if you want to know more about that. And the mum guilt was huge because she didn't know me. We hadn't done a pregnancy. She immediately bonded with her dad and not so much with me, and she wanted her foster carer back. And that was a woman, and there was a new slot for daddy to fill that she didn't have before, but I wasn't the correct person that she was expecting to be there. So it was a trickier journey, and I think led to an increase in the mum guilt every time I wasn't there with her, because I felt like I was putting my energy in the wrong place. But at the same time, I knew that I had to hold on to this thing that was for me. It was a part of my identity. It was part of my self-expression, my self-care, all of those things. I'd worked so hard to build it up, and I didn't want it to just close. So I accepted that there was going to be a good 6 to 12 months where all I would really be doing in the business was treading water, and that would be fine, because as long as I kept the business afloat for now through this difficult period, that was enough, and that was a hell of an achievement. And so I got in that mindset from the beginning, and I tried to think of those things in advance that would help, like having my mum come on board, having stockists selling products. So anything you can do to take the pressure off yourself so that everything isn't running through you, that might be a solution. Maybe you can outsource some stuff. Maybe there's some stuff you can get rid of. Like I closed my Patreon. I was very sad about it, and I still miss it a bit and think, maybe I could do it again. But actually it was the complete right decision. And so, yeah, you got to make those tough decisions. Things have settled down a lot now. We're in much more of a routine. My husband's back at work. I'm back at work. We've got a mix of childcare. I have a day a week where we spend the entire day together in the week, which I absolutely love. Obviously weekends as well, but in the week. And then she has some nursery time. Then there's times where I might start late because I take her, or I might finish early afternoon because she does a short day. She has some time with her grandparents. So we're very, very lucky to have a lot of support around us. But that in itself can make me feel guilty, because I feel like, should I be doing this many days, or should I be with her more? And you're probably never going to be happy with the balance. What I try and tell myself is all the places she goes and the people she sees, she gets so much out of it that I'd love more time with her selfishly. However, she's building up relationships with her grandparents that I had a really close relationship with my grandma, and I want her to have those too. That was really important to me growing up, and seeing her building those is something that I feel really good, like it makes me feel really good that is happening, that it's a real positive for her, and that she's got all these people in her life. The same with nursery. It's helping her build skills with other kids. Today, she left nursery by saying, "Bye, my friends," and waving to the other kids in the class, and she's never said that before. And it was like a real choky up moment when my husband told me that he got her today. So yeah, every thing you're negative on yourself about, there will be a flip side. Something that I feel good about is that I am keeping a part of my identity that's not related to being a mum, and that helps me massively with my mental well-being to throw myself into those times where I am a mum. When I'm with her, I make sure it's quality time as much as I can. And I do think it's quality over quantity. If she was struggling, or she came and she clearly wanted more time with me, I guess that would be a different issue. I think the other thing that I really tell myself is that I'm modelling valuable skills for her as well. And when we shared that my husband was taking the adoption leave, we had a few very puzzled looks from people. People made comments about it, about why was he taking it, why wasn't I taking it, almost like I wasn't doing mumming properly, because that's what the woman should do, right? And actually, I have a daughter and I want her to see that families look different, gender roles look different, and also if you have a dream, you can go out there and try and make it happen. And if you want to go out there and try and create something and put it out in the world and create a business about it, you can do that. And she might not want to do any of those things, but teaching her the values of hard work, teaching her the values of believing in yourself and challenging yourself and trying to learn new skills and do new things. They're all things that I wanted to see that women are capable of, that are options for her if she wants them. And it fills my heart with joy when she sees something and my husband will go, "Mummy made that." And she'll be like, "Wow, wee, Mummy." And it just makes me feel a little bit proud, I guess. And one of the reasons that I work so hard at this is so that I can have a business that's flexible, so that when she's sick, I can down tools and give her the cuddles. When she has something at nursery, I can go in and be there. I haven't got to keep asking permission, having a boss that's saying no. People generally work so hard on their businesses for their family, and that's what you've got to think. Kids don't necessarily understand that when they're little, but they'll come to see it massively as they grow. And give yourself a massive dollop of self-kindness, because we are our own worst critics. We're so hard on ourselves, and I think what is expected of mums in particular is an impossible task, an impossible standard to meet. Whatever you're doing, there'll always be someone who judges, who gives you that little look, or who says how they would do it differently. Take no notice. I'm trying not to swear. Take no notice. You do you. Your children are going to be so proud of you for following your dreams and trying to build your businesses. And make sure you keep telling yourself that you're a fabulous mum, because especially on the hard days you need to remind yourself. So that is what I have to say about that, like I'm some sort of mothering guru. But use those pockets of time that you've got to really prioritise what's going to move my business forward the most, as opposed to what tasks are more nice to haves, and really focus on that. And I'll maybe do some more content around that too. So that is all my waffle, and I hope you enjoyed this Q&A. It's very different from previous ones, obviously. I have loved answering all your brilliant questions. I could have talked for hours, so I've definitely now got a list of videos that I want to make so that I can talk about each of these topics in way more detail. If there's any other thoughts that it's triggered for you that you'd like me to expand on, or any other topics that you think, oh, that would be good, pop them in the description. And if you've reached this point in the video, comment a little sunshine. I would love to see a little community of sunshines in my comments section to just celebrate what I hope is a little happy corner of the internet, and a place where people can come to get a little bit of dose of positivity in their lives, whether it's as a small business owner or in their lives in general. Thank you so much for helping and supporting my business and my own personal growth over these last 5 years. There's maybe another video that I'd like to link, which is, I can't remember what I called it, but it's basically like what being a small business owner has taught me in terms of my own personal growth and how I've changed throughout this process. I want to stop saying the J word, but I feel like I've said journey about 50,000 times. I've changed and grown a lot. The business has changed and grown a lot, and I couldn't have done it without you. So thank you so much. One idea I had was to react to, not my first video, but my first studio vlog when I started doing studio vlogs. Do a video reacting to my first studio vlog, because I recently found the footage and started to watch it, and then I was like, no, maybe I should film a react to this and it'd be a really fun piece of content. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below, or whether it's something no one wants to see. And I will see you back here next week for another video. Take care, everyone. Bye!